Hi, folks. Hey, this is RD on the road, and welcome back. But yet, at the same time, I need to get it done, and I've had some heart issues lately. Been in the hospital 4 times in the last 2 months. So I said, it's time to get this done because if something happens, I will never get to tell my stories. And this is about running on faith alone, and it's a hard step to sometimes just step out and knowing you don't have enough money to buy the gas to go as far as I do sometimes, and also knowing that you don't have always have a word of saying, okay, hey, this is where I want you to go, this is what you want to do. Uh, Sometimes God will make it in kind of like a not feeling great or something about where you're at or whatever, and it's kind of a way of nudging you to get off your buns and get moving somewhere else because I do travel a lot and maybe you won't understand quite what I'm trying to say. But if you've ever had at times like you just felt like you had to go somewhere, go back on the road or something, and you really can't explain it. And people say, well, you're just a wanderer, you're a roamer. But yet, almost always, all the time, God has got a reason for me to go, and it might be to meet somebody on the road, help somebody along the way, different things. And you have to go by faith sometimes because when you're sitting in Georgia and you've got about $17 in your pocket and you know you need to get to Arizona, that's not that's not always going to be the thing that's just like, okay, I got plenty of money, gotta go, grab my Jeep and head out. And I have done that. I had sold my Class A, downsized to a shuttle bus, ended up not liking it, left it there in Georgia to sell while I'm on the road, and headed for uh, Arizona. Well, this is one of my latest trips, and I have, like I said, I had like $17 in my pocket, and it's like if God calls, there's a different feeling about it, and you just walk on faith because you don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now or next day, or where you're going, your gas is going to come from, your money's coming from, whatever. And so I just started out and took what I could with me and let go and hit the road. And first thing I did was, well, I had a brand new battery I'd bought for my uh, shuttle bus, and so I stopped into Walmart and never gave me any problem with it. I received my money back for that, and that was like $117. And then, you just keep on going. And along the way, it's amazing how I would say, you come up with different ways of traveling. But your biggest thing is you have to be walking on faith, and you really don't know where it's going to be. But like I said before, had I had enough money in my pocket to leave Georgia and go directly to uh, uh, Arizona, I would not have had the divine appointments that I had along the way. And one of those was a special one that I was in Air, Texas. And I had stopped to sell some tools, just some tools that I didn't really need. And because I had had to cut back so much. And to live in a van, you just don't have everything that you would love to have. A lot of guys and every people, whatever, but it's just a lot of stuff that you don't have to have with you. And when you're downsizing, and so anyway, I had stopped in this area, and there's a a parts store there, O'Reilly's parts store, and I buy a lot of parts and things there and stuff. And I asked the manager if it was okay to set up out there. Sure, no problem. Well, I set up and I was there for a while, sold a bunch of tools, and this young guy come along and he says, asked me if I had a couple bucks he could have for something. I can't remember just what he said. So I gave him a couple bucks, and he started walking away. And he came back and he says, "Well, where are you headed to?" And I said, "Arizona." And he says, "Are you going through Tucson?" I said, "Sure I am. I'm going right through there." And he said, "Can you, can I get a ride with you?" He said, "I thought about staying here, but with my girlfriend, but he says I could go to my grandmother's or a support house out there." And I'm like, "Okay, sure." And I mean, I knew there was some things about this gentleman, a young guy. And if you've ever seen the devil fork that a lot of people will display as the devil's fork, he had it tattooed on his face. Now, that would make a lot of people say, no, I'm not going to take this guy. But yet, if God put you in my spot of helping out, I said yes, no problem. I says you've got to sit on some blankets because I had taken my right seat out so I could have a bed that way. And he said no problem. So when I got done, I told the manager, and then one of the other guys said, I would be really careful of this guy. I said, look, if God sent him to me, that's what I'm supposed to help. So I left, and so anyway, I got ready, and he got in, and he asked me if he could smoke, and I said no, not in the car, not in the Jeep. And so he had one cigar. He would puff on when we'd stop or something, and that was it. But he kept looking over his shoulder, and after I don't know, 100 miles or whatever, I asked him. I said, "Is something wrong?" And he says, "No, no, nothing, no problem." And so we kept on going, and when we got into Tucson, uh, I stopped at a fueling station, filling station, got gas, and I mentioned it to him about his grandmother. And the funny thing was that he knew his grandmother's phone number, but he didn't know where she lived. And I'm like, okay, there's things going on here that we don't know about or can't really explain, and I understand. And so anyway, we sat there and talked for a minute, and I said, "You can go either way." And he said, "Well, what about that house for helping people?" And I said, "Okay, the support center." I looked it up, called them, and they were only about 3 miles away from where we were at that time. So I took and uh, called them and talked with them, and I said, "We'll be right over." And went over. He got out of the car as he got there, and there was a lady that worked at the house, the home there, and she was coming out as he was getting out of the car. And I motioned for her to come over and talk to her for a few minutes. And I told her, I said, I would pick this young gentleman up and everything, but I said, he definitely needs help. I said, but at least he'll have a roof over his head, and I think you guys can probably help him because I don't know exactly what's wrong. But you see, those are times when you step out of your comfort zone because God calls you. Had I been somebody else or whatever, just drive by him, that would be totally different. And the uh, the whole thing about not having enough money in my pocket to make straight from Georgia to Arizona was that it would make me stop different places and meet different people. And this was a special case. And for that reason, I had picked him up, taken care of him all that time, and got him to this house, the support center. And when I left, I just looked up to the Lord, say, "Thank you, Lord." And because I knew it was a divine appointment for me on my trip. And that's how I have traveled so many times and gone places that walking by faith in the part that I didn't have enough money to go. But I recently started off from Payson, Arizona, went down through to um, El Paso, Texas, on down through and met some friends of mine there, good friends of mine who used to work for me, and sitting on the road. And I felt that I was supposed to be going east. And I kept going all the way across the east coast to the east coast, ended up in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And every day, most of the time, it would be like I have to figure out if I've got fuel enough to make it to wherever and keep on going. Now, that may sound real hard, and it is a lot of times it is, but it also uh, shows you where your faith is. Because if God's calling you to a place, He will get you there. And I ended up in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and at that time I was looking to change auto insurance. Now, had I not been up in North Carolina at Jacksonville, North Carolina, I probably wouldn't have seen the USAA sign for insurance, which is many of them is for military. And so and I called USAA, and I got this gentleman, and we talked for a moment, and then he asked me what I do and etc. And I explained to him what I've been doing for so long, and he said, he says I have a problem of like I should be stopping to help this person or that person or do this, do that. I have an urge to do something, but then I go beyond and keep on going. And so it kind of aggravates me that I don't finish what I feel the good Lord has called me to do. And so we talked for another 20, 30 minutes and talked to him about, how the Lord called you and different things. And anyway, he said to me, he said, we get about 13,000 calls a day. And he said, what's the chances of me getting you today? And he said, I know God put us together so you can help me. And that's how um, my life goes so many times. Now, the other strange part about that conversation is that he was in Lackland, Texas, at the insurance company building, and I was in uh, Jacksonville, North Carolina. So, but if I had not been there, I would not have seen the signs, not called about the insurance, and we would not have had the conversation we did. Now, many times um, in the past, God has let me know in the morning to go somewhere or head out somewhere, and I've gone on faith, strictly on faith, because I have no idea why. I have no idea what's going to happen on that trip, and I will end up somewhere for 6 or 7 months in a place that I had no idea that he would turn the steering wheel on a trip that might be a 1,800-mile trip or whatever. And then all of a sudden, he turns the steering wheel and has a divine appointment for me. And those are awesome because, like I said, you're walking on faith. You're not going because you know you've got to get there and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. But the not knowing, but yet going because you know you've been called. And I hope this isn't confusing to anybody, but you can have times where you just have that gut feeling that you got to be going somewhere, or there'll be something come up and it says, he talks to you in the morning, and as he does me many times about 4:30 in the morning, and you learn to trust. And I guess that's the biggest word that I have to. tell people is that when you're walking by faith, it is a trust in God, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus Christ that no one can ever explain to you other than you are believing in something you cannot see, touch, or hold unless you have that feeling from them and you have the belief and they have touched your life in so many ways. But wherever you go, God will take you, He will provide for you. And as I said, some days you might be in Georgia and you get $17 in your pocket and He wants you in Arizona. You may not know exactly why or whatever, but you get the calling and you go. And that's what I've been doing for almost 13 years. I left Maine with $200 in my pocket when I first started, and that was on a December 1st morning. And the old devil didn't want me to go. Went out and hit the truck. Went to start it, wouldn't start. Had to boost it and get my Jeep out and boost that. And my wife had said that morning, she said, "Well, she's how you going to make it because you don't have enough money." And I told her, I said, "If God wants me there, He'll provide." And that's what happened when I was, and that's why you'll be seeing the things that says 29 days and beyond a journey of faith. Is that it took me 29 days from the time I left my home in Bangor, Maine that morning, and I was in Bolivar Peninsula or down in Galveston, Texas, 29 days later, and with $25 in my pocket. And I'm going to be doing a whole video on just that, basically, of how I would go. And some days I would have food, some days I would have no gas, but a divine uh, situation would come up, and I call them divine appointments. God would provide for us and for me and my rig and things. And that's how I made it from Maine to Texas because that's where I felt I was called to go at that time. And if you if you ever just let your life go to God and say, "Here am I, send me," if you have that feeling at all, and He will. You may not understand it all, you may not believe it all, but trust me, He's got you in His mind and He's got you in His comfort. He will take care of you and He will give you what you need. And when I say He'll give you what you need, there's a lot of things I would like to have had in the 13 years, but yet some of those things I never got. And when you look down the road just a little bit, you realize why. And He has answered me my prayers for a house on a dead end road. This was in Georgia, and a one floor house because I couldn't. I started having problems with steps in the barn, and 3 acres. And through coincidences and whatever, shortly down the road, that chance came, and I was buying a house from an owner with owner financing. I was there. I cleaned the property up. I enjoyed it. I had a great time for about 4 months. And I'm thinking, I can't even go anywhere because I have to take care of this. I have to pay for my bills over here and everything else. So I end up letting it go and went back on the road. And I'm still traveling. So when I talk to people about walking by faith and alone and things, but you're never alone. And my prayer most usually every night is thank you, Lord, for a blessed day. And when I'm getting up in the morning, a lot of times I'll say, hey, Lord, I just pray that your will be done, not mine. Because I know He's got a much better plan than I have. And that is suffices for what I have to do. And takes the uh, I don't know how to say it, but I relax with that because I turn it over to Him. And there's times I might be somewhere and just don't know why I'm here. But by the next day or something, He'll have a reason, and I find out why. And it's just so awesome as to what His plan can be for your life. Don't ever think you're alone. As you said, sometimes when you think you're alone, you're not. It's just that we get lonely because we may not have a companion or partner with us at that time. And I've traveled most of my 13 years alone, except for about 2 years when I had resale shops and things. And I lived in Texas for a short bit, and then I had a resale shop in Payson, Arizona. And the amazing thing is, both of those resale shops are now churches. And I was like, how would I never would have thought of that would ever happen? But God has made things happen that you won't even, you can't even understand how it happens, or you know, keeps you going. And so that's something like what I'm saying is that uh, when you're standing on faith alone, uh, you will learn to do that. It's not something everybody's just going to have handed to them, and then, oh, I can do this, I can do that. It takes a lot of steps of faith to do it, but God will be there all the time, always. And like I said in another video, is that my home now is in a 97 Ford van. I have built it from the top up so I can walk around no problem. And yet I have downsized so much that everything I own is in this van and on the back and some totes. Air generator on the front, self-sufficient. I get 14 miles a gallon, and I can travel just so much easily. And the other thing is that as I get older, I have a hard time walking long distances. So at Walmart's or other places, I generally uh, park in the handicap spots. Well, with this rig, I can park in a handicap spot close to the front door if I need to. And it just made it so much easier. Is it as nice as my big rigs I've had? No. But at the same time, when I look back and it's because of the economy and everything, it made it downsizing easier for me because I could afford to do what I do now. And as I, I haven't been getting as many uh, donations as I used to because of the physical part. But some days I get a trip out and I tell people where I'm going or whatever. They say stop by this, that, and the other. And just recently, uh, I had to tell a lady that owns a business, and I said, "Well, I probably won't see you for a bit." And I said, "Why?" I said, "Well," I says, "God's calling me to go east." And I said, "Looks like I'm going to be gone for a while." And I was gone for 2 months. And but she said, "Well, look, you stop down by. Let me know when you're going down through." I said, "Okay." They had another house uh, down the road a ways. I said, "Okay." And so I called them the next evening, and I told them I was in town, and I was going to go get something to eat. And she says, "Oh no," she says, "come on over. We just got done having a barbecue, and we got plenty for you to eat." I'm like, "Okay." And so anyway, got there, and then had my Jeep with me at that time, and I parked up by their house, plugged in and everything for the night, and went in and had dinner with them. Awesome people, great Christian, and so anyway, I took and stayed there the night, and she said, "I probably won't be up in the morning when you leave, and my husband will probably be gone. So have a blessed trip, and I'll see you then." And is make yourself at home. We have to go see some friends, and it was kind of understood that I was there and they had to go. But hey, the house is yours, so it's okay. So me and the dog, they had a dog, and so I had the dog finished up my meal, and enjoyed it there for about an hour. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed. And so anyway, I can't remember just what that was. He says, I put one of my cards on the table and I wrote on the back. I says, thank you so much for a blessed, uh, for blessings and the meal and everything. And then I put a peppermint on each side of my card, one for each one of them, and went to bed. Well, I hadn't gone quite to bed. They got home before I gone settled in for the night. And she comes back out and she says, here. And I says, what's this? She says, my husband wanted you to have this. And so she handed me a small roll of money. And I'm like, and you could see she was exhausted because she had her business. They'd been out dinner and everything, out meeting people, whatever. And so anyway, she says, my husband wanted you to have this. And that's how a lot of times I have had donations given to me. And so as I said, okay, thank you very much. And she was exhausted. I hugged her and said good night. And so then the next morning, I'm thinking he's gone. She's still in bed. And so I just getting up, getting going. I open my door on the van and I hear this guy say, hey, you like coffee for breakfast? I'm like, sure. And so anyway, I got out, and her husband had ended up staying home, so she ended up getting up too. And she was making breakfast, so they invited me in. And so as we're sitting there and I'm eating breakfast, and he walks over and he says, "Here, I'm supposed to give this to you too." And the first part was $450. The second part was 350. And that made 800. But that's how God supplies. I didn't have the money for a generator. I didn't have the money for the trip and things, but I trusted in Him to do it, to take care of my needs. And so there, by the next morning, uh, I had my funds for that trip. And I'll tell you, I bought a generator with it and things. And the thing about that is that I was praying for a generator as I go down the road because I have a refrigerator now, and it's not a gas refrigerator. I used to have a whole setup in my big rig, but I don't here. And so I'm thinking, okay, I've got to do this and do that. I got to get a generator so I got power from my air conditioner also. And so I'm going down the road, and I had needed to stop into a small park for the night so I could have some power. And the lady I came in, and the lady says, "Oh no, you again?" And apparently, I looked like somebody that had given her a hard time, and she was not going to put up with me again. And I'm like, "What did I do?" I said, "I just rolled in." And then she turned around and to the other lady, she said, "Doesn't he look like what's his name?" And I said, "No, he's doing away, but not quite." And so anyway, uh, and it turned out they only had one plug-in, and that was right on the road going in, right in the park. So they plugged me in there for the night. Said you can only stay for the night. It's all I needed. The next day, I was looking around online for a generator. Looked at two or three, wasn't quite what I wanted, and then I saw this one for $300. Well, it turned out it was brand new, and also it was on a garden cart. Plus, it had a cooler thing of funnel, some other things that it needed, an oiler, and a couple of if you gonna let it set for a while, you put this additive in it so it won't go bad. And I'm like, so, okay, I'm gonna go down and look at it. And it turned out these people, they were Christian. These people were moving from a mobile home park into an HOA, and they would not let them take that generator with them for emergency power. And so he was selling it. And fortunately, it was a $369 generator. There was a $85 garden cart that was on, and the rest of the 6-gallon Eagle can was $55 new, and the other equipment was uh, another $25 of other stuff that it had. And so anyway, uh, I went there and I bought it and everything, and then took the guy, got it back. He helped me load it and everything because it was all bolted down to the cart. Loaded everything in my van, got back out to where I was staying out on BLM land, which is basically out in, we call it boondocking. There's nobody out there most of the time. A few people do, but quite a few people do this, and they just park where they can out in the desert or wherever in national parks and things. And so anyway, I started thinking, well, I could sell this garden cart for like $50. Then I happened to see a van that a gentleman from Florida and his wife had made up to go to Alaska. And he had built a rack on the front for his motorcycle, dirt bike. And it's like, I can take that wheels off that rack and off that garden cart, make myself a platform, put my generator on it, and go from there. And that's what I did. So that I'll do some videos later on my rig. Um, and get out and get it all cleaned up a little bit more. But it's very simple, but yet it does what I need, and it's not expensive. And so anyway, I ended up with the I don't know, about $500 worth for $300. And the nice thing about it was all new, hadn't even been really used. And so that's how many times I've learned to be praying for what I need, not just be praying for, okay, I want a car. Be specific. When you're praying for something, be specific as to what you need. Is it a four-wheel drive car? Is it a standard shift or whatever? Is it a V8 or a six-cylinder, whatever? But I've learned over the years on the road, when I'm praying, be specific. And the uh, God knows what you need. It's just sometimes that you need to be specific so that He knows what you actually need, and He knows more what your wants and needs are than you do. So, anyway, I'm going to cut this a little short today. My my back screen of lighting up here, the sun coming around is making it a little lighter here. I got a big studio. It's 11 feet long and 4 feet wide, 5 feet wide in the bottom part. And but when you get to worry about yourself a lot, like I am, you don't need a lot of room. But a lot of sometimes is the little simple stuff means so much. So don't get caught up on the big cars and the big house and everything else that you can't afford. Be very simplistic in your life and be able to afford what you need and love your children the way you need to be and love your husband, your wife, either one back and forth. Um, don't let the money and everything else get in front of you and in the way. Uh, and always be watching somewhere somebody's teaching you how Christ uh, will call you, use you, and teach you what really walking in faith is about. So this is RD on the road. Going to be signing off. You have a blessed day, and P.H.P. Ministry, Disaster Relief, and ministry is what I've been doing for 13 years. For those who I would like to have you hit the subscribe button down below, give a comment, hopefully positive, and if you like, I will be putting up a thing here before too long where you can take and donate to us to keep us going on the road. Uh, I do have to stretch it a long time, a long ways. A lot of times I don't have money to do a lot of the extras, but I'll tell you, uh, when I meet people and see somebody that's just lost their job or just lost their eye and now they lost their job because of that. A lady just recently, about a week ago, about a week ago, in Wyoming. I saw her have a van, and I noticed she didn't have anything with her. But it seemed like she was living in her van or whatever. And so another van came in between us the next day, and she had come over. We were outside and we were talking, and this lady came by and she's, oh, I'm meeting my neighbors. Okay, great. We were at a Walmart parking lot, and even the people at Boondocks like to come out and meet people now and then. And I love people. It's just I like my time alone when I'm off, out where I want to be. But anyway, she told us her circumstances, and she just got this old van. And I told her, I said, you know something? We did rather the lady named Molly and two dogs are next to me, and she said, you're not homeless. You have a van to live in. And a few years ago, I wouldn't have thought about it the same way, but I live in the van now and I have everything I need. Um, it's cheaper, easier, and everything else. Well, anyway, she told us what happened, and then she had her daughter with her. I just picked her daughter up, and so we told her we would help her out as much as possible. And then we had a prayer with her. And what they do is there's a difference between praying for and praying over a person. And what that means is I lay my hand, we all put hands on each other. And I pick my right arm up like Moses did with the rod, the staff. And that's my uh, connection to God that way. And we prayed for him. And she said, and I asked her if she had a Bible. She said, no, she lost it in the house. And she didn't have a home anymore. And so I said, does she you want one? And she says, yeah, I love it. So I got in my rig. I had just picked up a brand new Bible from a friend of mine, still in the box. And he says, here, maybe somebody can use it. And that lady's got that new Bible now. And that touches my life. Because you see, when we're talking about Christ, we're talking about the Bible, we're talking about the stories, how life is about and everything. And she needed a Bible. Because none of that specifically, she needed people to say, hey, you're okay. We love you. And you're going to be okay. And so we're going to start helping her about different things, how to do whatever, and keep her going. And then she looked like she was maybe having a job come up. But anyway, that's just one of the things we do, and how I love what we do, helping others. Take your eyes off yourself. Will help others, and I guarantee you, if your heart don't start feeling different, let me know, okay? And anyway, so we're signing off. And like I said, we're going to be putting up some other ways of doing some funding here, and pray that you will help us out. But the biggest thing is I pray that, Lord, is that my videos, each and every one I do, touches your life somehow, that you learn something, that you increase your belief. It changes your life for the better. And leave comments down below. Uh, and we thank you and we love you and have a blessed day. It's RD on the road, P.H.P. Ministry and Disaster Relief. Amen. God bless.